That's old.
I don't know if, so I've had her since she was 7 weeks. I didn't have her for a couple of years because she was with my parents when I was in the military.
Gotcha.
And then I've just been trying to figure out how to fix her ever since.
I got some information for you that hopefully, are you a dog trainer as well? You are, right?
Yeah.
What the information I'm going to give you is, I mean, I'm not going to say it's easy work, but the concepts hopefully are clear. And it's something I stumbled across within the past couple of years, and then I'm still playing with every dog who has anxiety, especially. I'm working with this particular theory that I'm developing. I suppose it's not my theory, but they're my techniques. So basically, the idea is this: with the training aspect of a dog like her, what I'm seeing in that video is anticipatory anxiety, which is the anxiety of thinking about what's coming next. The event that's coming next. And you could be thinking, the dog could be thinking about something they want to do or something that they don't want to happen, but whatever it is, it's in their mind. And the way that it's in their mind is through association. So it's not in their mind, like let's say the walk's not in their mind until they see the door or until they see the leash or something like this, right? Or they have to take a pee or something that associates that state of mind. So what I do with a dog like this is I start big and then I go small. So if she were to drop off into my board and train, I wouldn't. The only thing I would teach her is a recall on the beep on the remote. Right when she got here, really, is I'd make sure she knew that beep meant to come back to me, and that if I were to say a certain word like shush with my hand out, it means to stay. So I got a dog who can recall and stay. That's just for the practicality of getting her through the world. Now, the way that I do it is if she gets here, she's outside with me, she's anxious, she's thinking about whatever, I just let her go wherever she wants to go. Hopefully she doesn't follow me. I try to get her so she doesn't follow me. No heel, nothing. Just go. But there's some unspoken rules between me and you, human and dog, that have been around for a long time. And I'm not going to tell you what they are, the dog, right? I'm going to let you figure out by running into the consequences. So you're going to figure out what not to do before you figure out what to do. And so basically the whole anxiety is because she learned what to do before she learned what not to do. And now she won't even go do the things she's not supposed to do because she knows she's not supposed to do, but she's always going to think about them. And welcome to like what 90% of trainers in America are doing. They're teaching them what to do before they teach them what not to do. And what I do differently is I teach them what not to do first. And once that's all clean, then I'll teach you what to do. I don't even care about heel. I use the recall to get them to me if it's dangerous, if I need it. And then a stay, but I'm not really too worried about them being polished and really pretty. I just need them to understand it's part of how I communicate with you so you can follow me. So with her, I'd let her go on the end of this long line. It would be like a 30-foot long line. And I would also have a slip lead on her so when she gets close, I have it. And she goes out. She just takes off. She doesn't know me, so this is what would happen with me. She would just probably go her own direction. I would go my own direction, not telling her that, hey, we're attached to this leash. She's gonna figure that out on her own. When she hits the end of the leash, and even if she hits it softly, as soon as she hits it and it tightens, e-collar correction, because that's the rule around here. Don't let this get tight, boom. And she won't know why. She won't know why. And a couple of these experiences, that not knowing why produces, let me look at the human to see why. Right? So too much talking to them in the beginning. You just let them go explore. So she goes, the rule is if you go this far away from me, the e-collar pressure will turn on, right? She doesn't know that, but here we go. She goes that far. She hits the end of the leash. I'm walking the opposite direction. E-collar. If she looks confused, I wait a second and then I go beep, come back to me. So I told her, hey, when you feel that sensation or if you feel like you don't know what to do and you're that far away from me in the future, come to me. That's it. Just come to me. Because any type of trouble you get yourself into, as soon as you start to feel like you're in trouble, I need you to come to me. Okay? So she's not going to know what the e-collar pressure is for at that point. She's just going to know something aversive happened when she went to go be independent too far away from me without permission. Right? And she came back to me, hey girl, what's up? I'm not telling you to heal or anything. I'm settling you down a little bit and I'm telling you to go back out. And as soon as she's like, I'm not paying attention to you because I'm checking that thing over there, I'm sneaking away from you to try to create distance. And if I get too far away from you, I'm gonna let it hit the end of the leash at first. There's gonna be a beep on the collar that maybe she doesn't know what it means at first, and then an e-collar stim. And she's gotta figure out, it's because you're going away from the pack. I'm the epicenter, and if you get too far away from where I'm going, there's a correction. So here's the thing, the dog's gonna start following you from a distance. The dog will follow you. She won't be in a heel, but she will, you'll see that if you try to sneak away from her and go in another direction without her seeing, she'll keep an eye on you. And that's step one. So she's watching where you're going. Because if you get too far away, this thing happens. So I need to follow this guy. So now we got the dog hanging out at a distance. And slowly what ends up happening is the dog ends up paying attention to us more and more. And that's how I started. And that's where the whining will go away once I tighten up from there as the days go on. Because she's already tasted it herself, that independence. And it was separate from my commands or anything. It was you in the environment that had that experience. When you're around me and under my influence, if you're listening to me, you'll notice you won't feel that sensation. So it literally trained the dog's mind to pay attention to you. And then I take that and I travel, usually around the woods, and I let the dog free. And anytime they lag too far or they try to go too far ahead, I will correct first, wait a second, and then recall. Letting them know that in the future, I just want you to know, dog, that whenever you feel that, when you're 60 feet away from me or 30 feet away from me, it always means recall. When you hear that beep and then you feel that stim, it always means recall. It never will not mean recall. And so that's done. Recall's done. So now I'll use the recall to get the dog to start following me. So I'll go to a location and let her free. And this is what we're doing, you're sniffing. You're doing whatever you're doing. And then when you look like you're done, I'm gonna go beep. And that means come to me and follow me until the next location where I'm also going to let you free. But in between here and there, which will start at a short distance, it might just be 10 feet to literally a different tree. Then I'm gonna stop you, sit you. I'm gonna go check out the tree first. And then I'm gonna look back at you and let you go check out the tree. This is the thing she needs to get used to. Walking somewhere, stopping, letting me go check it out first for a second, and then releasing you to check it out. Time goes by, beep, back to my side as we go to the next location. This is the series of events. Beep, that means join up. We're going somewhere. That means no sniffing or anything like that. Just follow me. Once we get to the location, stop, sit, wait for me to release you. Once I release you, you're free. And then when you hear that beep again, you're back to me.
Well, do I not release her while she's whining, though, if she is whining?
Good question. She is a chronic, so this is chronic. So we're gonna have whining. So this is where I want you to bear with me because you're right. When it comes to an average dog, you don't wanna reward the whining because they're thinking about going off the door and that state of mind gets rewarded, all that. With her in the beginning, hey, sorry, I had a dog making some really funky noises when he's scratching himself. If she's whining, if you can get it to stop, that's great. But I want you to understand that it's more of her coming to the conclusions that she's not interested in going and doing things on her own. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a call coming in. I'm trying to bypass it.
That's okay. Snoop Dogg just went live and it just informed me.
Okay, say the last sentence that you said.
The whining will go away as soon as she thinks differently. So her thought is, I see things that I want to go do, and I want to go do them. I want to go check that out. I want to go check this out. I want to go check that out. As soon as that's not happening, the whining will go away. So the whining is a product of the way she thinks. It really is. She thinks that these things, she's perseverating on, I don't know, because I'm not around her. I could figure it out if I was around her, on something. And at this point, she might not even know what she's perseverating on. It might even just be association. But the way that I deal with that is I just keep the structure. This for the next week, this is what I would do with her. It's we go from the kennel to outside, and when we're outside, this is how we do it. We travel to this tree or wherever. And while you're traveling with me, you're following me. And she'll mess up the first, that process of just getting to that place to use the bathroom is going to be a training process because she's going to leave your side because you're not going to say heel. You're going to let her, you're going to say, I would add in a word that let's go. It's not heel, but it's informal. It means follow me. You don't have to be in a tight heel, but you do have to follow me. And as she goes away, you'll see it. You'll watch her go into independent mode. She'll go, I'm over here. Let her. She's on a long line. You have a slip lead on her too, or whatever leash you use, but she's also on a long line. So you could just drop that and let her go. And I have her on a backpack, so it's like she feels free. She gets too far away, it's your choice because you're there with her. It could be a beep and then some stim for a recall just to get her back, or it could just be a correction. She doesn't know why yet. And then you just say, let's go. And she goes bolting past you, right? She goes bolting past you. Correct. Turn around. Let's go. Eventually, the dog just kind of watches where you go and follows. And then you say, good. And this is the training. And then we get to you get her to follow you for a certain amount of time. Stop her. Sit her. And then, count to a few, 5 seconds. And then release her and let her know, now you're free. Now you can go out. Now you can go. No stim. Like you can go in front of me. You can run behind me. All this stuff. You hear the beep. All that's done. It's back to following. And as the days go on, she'll learn this. And I know this sounds like, what's funny about this? This is going to solve the whining. And it doesn't even sound like it's going to. But you're giving her you're giving her something that's predictable with rules. It's like there's a time to sniff and there's a time not to sniff. And you're going to learn that here's the time to sniff, and it's going to be fun because I'm going to make sure you have your time. I'll even play with you. I'll encourage you to go sniff, go check that out, get it all out now. But once you hear this noise, beep, I use the tone on the collar. As soon as you hear that means recall, which means follow, plays over. So that's why the whining goes away. Because now she's happy, she's satisfied, she's still getting what she wants. She just knows after this beep, until I'm released at this next place, it's not even an option. And that will be taught through correcting, but going after the big things first. So don't go after the whining first. That's the small things. You go after the big body movements, like she's supposed to be following you, but she takes her whole body and goes 10 feet away. That gets corrected first, and I'm not holding her in heel until that goes away. You see? That's the whole thing, is everyone teaches heel within this inch, and then the whining's still there. It's because you have to let them go take away the option first of wanting to do it. It's like dog reactivity. It's like, the dog's not lunging and barking anymore, but it's sitting there whining because it wants to. Let's make it so the dog doesn't want to do it by letting it do it and lighting it up until the point where it won't do it. I can't get this dog to do it. Now I teach you. So I can't get this dog to not follow me when it's time to follow. Your dog will start following you even without you saying, because she's going to understand the pattern of, okay, first we travel somewhere. That means, I'm not free. And then she's going to let me free and we're going to have fun. Whatever you guys do for fun, just do it then. I let them, it's usually hiking. So they just go explore and play and we romp around. But that beep, that's what's clear for her. As soon as you hear that, that's what signifies it's time to stop and let's go. And you can't just go out into that mentality again until I say break, right? And that clears up the anxiety. And once this gets good and she knows the process, then you can start going after the whining as well. If like all the little squeaks. But that's going to happen on the side as well, because this is one thing we're doing with her. This is how we get out of the house. This is how we travel. But the indoor behavior, hopefully we can cause this whining in a controlled setting so we can talk to her about whining. So we can say, hey, when you whine, you're going to feel this, and that means shut up, right? And in order to teach a dog that, we need to be able to trigger the whining. Really, we need to be able to have her not whining and then show something and she whines. This is how we get over the problem. So sometimes we use food. Sometimes we put a dog, in a down or something, or I just show the food, really heavy, high value, man. I'm talking chicken, steak, whatever. You put it on the floor, the dog wants it, you say no. I didn't punish her, I just disagreed with it. And then all of a sudden, a couple seconds later, whine, 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 no, click, no to the whine. That's what we're talking about. Or the dog's quiet on place and I go, squeaky ball, and then whine comes out. Boom. That's where I can now talk to the dog about the whine. But I didn't teach place by going after the whine. I didn't, day one, say place, down, stop whining. I said place means to stay on here and don't get off. So I'm going to let you whine and do whatever, because first thing I'm going for is you stepping off the bed. I'm going to do this until you no longer step off the bed. Even though you're whining, it's fine. But today and tomorrow, we're just going to make sure that I'm going to test you to step off the bed in so many different ways. Eventually, you're going to be like, I'm not stepping off that bed, and everything's a test. And now after that, I'll start holding you accountable for a down on there, you know, and then make sure you're not breaking your down on there. And then after that, I'll start going for the whining, right? You have to break them up into conversations. And the hardest one to explain is the whine, because it's not a physical movement. So it's like they're thinking you're going after the physical movements first, so you do, and then you go after the head. You did good work with her. She knows what she's doing as far as the training goes. She seems to understand what you're asking of her in that video. She knows that she's supposed to be in a down. She knows she's supposed to be following you, but her mind's thinking about the other stuff. So my thing is, dude, let her go do the other stuff and then correct her. And that's what I do. And then she comes back to you and you say, good girl, I love you, I love you, I love you. Go back out, correct her. She comes back to you, good girl, go, girl. And then she doesn't go out. She's like, I don't know what to do. Settle her down, break. Now you can go. If I said that word and you go out, no corrections. If I haven't said that word, there will be, because I need you to be following me always, unless I've said otherwise. Not, you're not following me unless I've said otherwise. Unless I've said, hey, follow me, you're not following me. It's our dogs are always following us in their minds. I'm not saying they have to be up our ass, but they're always taking our direction unless we said break, have a little freedom. Most dogs live in, I'm having freedom unless they give me a command. Where the thing is, no, you're not having free time unless we've said break. That's simple as that. Unless I've said break and offered free time and upped energy and all that, don't even go there. And that's just during the beginning of the process to get a dog over this stuff. But I'd be curious to see what else she whines over. Don't, you know, like, can you put her in the kennel while you're still home? Does she whine? This is another common one. She doesn't? Good. This is all outside?
Yeah. Well, unless, I mean, I live in the country, so.
She loves it.
Find distractions, which is fine, but she really, the only time she's really vocalizing is pretty much in that video. I just had a board and train, and so when I first bring him in, I'm ready to correct her so that she doesn't have a reaction to him at all.
Gotcha.
But sometimes when she was here, like, I'd have them all in place. When I had him moving and her stationary, she would whine a little bit.
Good. This is good to know. Because, okay, so she's stationary. This dog's moving, right? And she whines. I am going to take a strong guess to say that's related to the whine out in the car that I've seen. Because what would happen if you started playing with this other dog while you told your dog to go place? That might bring out the whine, right? I mean, maybe. And that's good. That's good if it brings out the whine, because that simply tells you the whine is that she's complaining about her current circumstances a little bit. She said, I'm not whining while we're all holding still, but as soon as you start showing attention to this other dog, I whine because I wish I was over there partaking in this. So that's where the whine comes from. So the whine is, it's the kid in the candy shop who wants the candy bar and is saying, I want the candy bar, I want the candy bar, I want the candy bar, right? And so that gets punished, right? That gets punished. But punished, it can't just get punished. She has to understand that it means that I'm correcting you for whining. She needs to understand that. And she also needs to understand that in order for me to stop correcting you, you need to relax. So I will correct the whine with a dog, but if the dog is a certain stage in their training, I will keep correcting until they completely submit. So submission after a correction is something that I think is lacking with a lot of dogs. After a dog gets corrected, they need to go to the calm state. This is the way we do it, which is submission, which means I'm not complaining about the circumstances because I've submitted to the fact that that's just how it is and I don't care anymore. That is hard to do. It's hard to identify. But once you identify, you can usually see it with a deep breath and they say, fine. That's usually the dog really trying to submit, and that's headed in the right direction. Even if she struggles a little bit after that, but it's much better and you can see that it had an impact, then that's what we did for today. And tomorrow will be better. So we're not expecting her to be whine-free after one session. We're looking to take it, like, just chip away at it until it's gone. Just keep finding it and having the conversations until it's gone. And you find a way to trigger it. She's calm, and then boom, she goes into this state, and you verbally disagree. And then if she whines again, tag her so that it's clear that I'm talking about the whine. And then after I correct you, you don't need to keep, and it's funny, you don't even really need to punish too heavy. maybe a heavy one if needed to snap her out of the frenzy. But usually then it's low numbers and it's just eye contact and social pressure telling, almost like another dog would do to a dog, the stare down, letting her know to be quiet. And as soon as she kind of gets a little, if you can get her to get a little unsure, like I don't want to use the word afraid of you because it's not really it. A little like, you know, that respectful, like okay, I'm relaxing. If we can get that, if you already have that under her, then that's good, because you're looking to get that a little bit. If she whines again after the correction, and the first correction's mild usually, I just go, don't do that, and then whine again, don't do that, firmer. But the rest is my body. Then I get up out of my chair and I get over to her and I'm looking her in the eyes, and wherever I have to go from there. So if I get into your eyes and then you're like, you're not sure what to do, and I'm just staring you down, and you whine again, I give you a low number, and you start getting whiny, now I know me and you have to go through something. And I have a slip lead on this dog. And if I correct you and you whine or bark back at me or bitch back at me, I'm gonna correct you heavy. And if you bitch back at that one, I'm gonna correct you heavy. So it's gonna look like this: correction, bitch back at me, correction, bitch back at me, correction, bitch back at me, correction. And it could go on for 30 seconds. But you know what happens? That dog who's a whining dog chronically, usually after that shitty time that they have and I settle them and they don't make a noise in that session, that's the defining moment to help that dog get past this. Now they know I'm talking about whining, and it can get real bad if you don't shut up, because I'm really, really not the guy to test with this, right? But I'm not mad at her when I'm doing it. I'm just letting her know, animal to animal, I don't like that sound, and I'm willing to correct you very firmly for that to go away. I don't care why you're whining, right? If I'm a dog, I don't care why. I just don't like it. I don't like that sound. So if it's quiet and I hear, I'm gonna stop everything I'm doing and I'm gonna look at that dog. That dog's getting his paw on. And then if that dog whines again, I correct in the e-collar because it's an e-collar program, but the rest is my body. I start getting closer to you. And if I get close to you and you start to whine, then I'm gonna pick up the slip lead and let you know, we're gonna start going down that road. I put a little pressure up. If she relaxes, I'll put it down. But if she doesn't relax, it's like, I'm gonna correct you and then side submit you. And then you're gonna be at 0. You're gonna be calm. And I'm gonna walk away. And anytime in the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes, if I hear your voice again, I'm turning over and starting the process over. I'm gonna look at you. I'm gonna disapproval. You whine again, I'm gonna stand up. Your whines are getting me to come closer. Every whine is getting me to continue with the process. What ends up happening, the dog makes a little whine because it's chronic, they're gonna whine, right? But you look at them and they shut up and they put their head down. And the reason why that's important is because they understand. They understand it was the whine. And they also understand that in order to keep him from going to the next step of the process, I just stop whining and I'm quiet. And in order to stop whining means I stop thinking about the thing, whatever it is. And so this is the conversation I'm looking to have. That's why I bring food out or toys out, and or like another dog out, where that dog's on place who's being worked, because they're calm until there's a trigger, and I find the trigger, and then the whine comes, and I have to just mark it and drop what I'm doing. Everything stops. I stop the other dogs. Everything stops because she just said something. And today is all about you not saying anything. Okay? And it works, but it is so much work, and there's probably a big old fight under the hood waiting for you. But I promise you, you're a dog trainer, so you can see the beauty in this. The dog gets over it eventually, in time. If we do this for weeks, look at, like, say I'm gonna, the next 2 months, I'm gonna be going after this. And what's 2 months in the grand scheme? If she lives until she's 16, 18, whatever, however long these dogs are living these days, it's good to put in the time. Even if it's not perfect, but it's so much better. You're proud of her. You're like, you know what, this is the way I would do it. You have to just start going after those whines. And as far as the outside stuff, letting her have more freedom and correcting her for bad choices, like, what will end up happening is she'll put herself in heel and stuff. Because she'll be like, and then once she's there, just kind of like pet her and stuff. It's more like letting her come to her own conclusions. And I know it's a little finicky, but you're always reading the situation while you're there. You're the trainer. I'm not there. So you always have to remember that you have to trust your judgment. But I see what you're doing with her. And I see how it's not stopping the whining, because I did the same thing, forever, until I realized that one day I was just like, well, fine, go do that then. Go ahead, go. You want to so bad, go. And then I went, wham. And then they came back to me And I was like, hey, what's up? And I sat on down, go do that thing. And it's like a couple. Whether it's I want to go see that dog or I need to go sniff that tree or whatever it is, it's like all of a sudden that's not so important anymore. And so the whining goes down because every time they do it, it's not fun. I know it's manipulation. It's all it is manipulation. It's making them the thing I think is fun unpleasant a handful of times, and now they think, well, maybe I don't want to do that so much. And then I clean it up, and then I don't leave them there though, because then you can get superstitions. I quickly clean it up and say, actually, it wasn't that thing. It was that you did it without me saying you could. That's where I want them to land as a final result. Is it's only when you try to go be independent before I've offered it. And I'm not going to tell you heel because I'm not worried about heel. I'm worried about you following me mentally. And right now, you're thinking about something over there. So why don't you go check it out? Go. And I tell you, man, just let me know how it goes because it changes them quick sometimes. Sometimes it's a real fast change if you do it right. Other times it could take a few weeks, a month, you know.
And that's been my thing. I know it's mental for her, so I'm trying to okay, we're walking. This is what we're doing, so don't focus on anything else. But it's still all there
because she needs to. It's like the grass is always going to be greener. It's like I know I'm going to be in heel, but man, I always wanted to go sniff that tree. I always want to go do this or do that or do whatever the hell I want, and just give her a taste of doing whatever she wants without any direction in a safe way where it's like, okay, so I wouldn't say that this is what I want to do. I want to say break, go do whatever you want, and then correct her for doing whatever she wants. It has to be organic where she breaks the rule and you don't remind her that she broke the rule. You let her break the rule by she getting out of the car and she just goes. Or you just start walking without saying heel. She's assuming that she's in heel because she's done it so long. She's putting herself in heel and she's just whining. And you're like, man, she's never going to leave heel. She's whining in heel and I didn't put her in heel. Like this is when you know it's in the wrong spot, right? You have to get to the point where you keep walking to the point where it's like you say, let's go, which means follow me. Even if she doesn't know it, it just means follow me, but it doesn't have to be the tight heel. Eventually she'll allow herself. She can't help herself. She'll go and check things out. And when she gets to the end of that, and when she starts to stop paying attention to you, I would slowly sneak away and create distance until you hit the end of that leash. And then as soon as she hits the end of that leash, just an e-collar correction that catches her off guard. And then she's probably, because she's been with you 8 years, she's probably going to come running back to you. And then when she runs back,
I use in my big yard, I use the tone call.
Perfect. And you don't even have to tone her at this one. This is just getting corrected for going into independent mode and literally like leaving the pack because they understand. The dogs understand once she's taught this, it's natural for them to know when it's time to follow and when it's time to go and be independent, even without another dog saying heel, because they don't do that. It's all situational. And so she needs to learn you're still going to do all these things you want to do. I want you to do the things you want to do. I want you to go over there and sniff. I just want you to stop thinking and worrying about it. So what I'm going to do is tell you this. Until I say you can, this is what happens every time. And so you're going to decide that you don't like to go be independent. And then I'm going to show you that if you follow me without doing that, there are no corrections. And when I say break, you can go do the things you want to do. She just needs to realize that. And it's a bitch to get an 8-year-old dog to just see that. But it can be done. It is a bitch though, I got to say. But she seems like, she's worth it. She's a good dog.
Yeah, she's, for the most part, she's, willing to work, wants to do things.
Good.
In short spurts, but
she does it when she wants to, right? I mean, like, you can get her past that. It's just that unwritten, unspoken agreement between dog and human. And the rules that are there, and one of the rules that I use dog whispering rules, and then I tweak them, I think, a little bit. But the dog whispering rules are interesting. When we go somewhere, you should be following until I've said to you directly, go on out there and check it out. And then when I say come back to me, it means come back to me. And in between going to a new location, it's just always migration mode following. And just do this with her for a couple weeks. And I think you're going to see that she will know when to put herself in heel without you even saying. She'll just know what to do. And you won't even have to tell her what to do anymore. She'll be one of those dogs that if she starts making a mistake, you can remind her and you can let her know, but she'll click into what she's supposed to be doing based off of what she thinks you would want her to do in the specific situation. That's what you want an 8-year-old dog to be able to do, right? You want them to be able to look around and say, okay, what would my owner want me to do right now, given what they've said in the past in this type of situation? And that's what we really want out of our dogs, is to have good judgment. So part of the frustration of an 8-year-old dog is she's still on training wheels. We're like, heel, heel, heel. And it's like everything's a command. So that's good for younger dogs. But as they get older, I find that dogs get frustrated because they want to have more independence. They want to have a role in the pack, whether it means like protecting the property or something. They want more. They want more independence or more involvement in the pack. They don't want to just be like told what to do constantly, right? But in the beginning, when they're young, they got to learn all that stuff. But as they get to the adulthood, there's a moment of letting them start to make choices, as I'm weaning them off the commands, as like that's how they get around the world. I'm gonna let you start making choices and letting you know which ones are wrong and letting you know which ones are right, until you're guessing pretty good on your own without me saying anything. I think that's what you're missing with her, and I think that will make her happy and it'll make you happy, that she gets to have a little more freedom. But the thing is, though, with the freedom is that she doesn't get you telling her exactly what's right. So she's gonna go do things that are wrong, and it's just gonna end up with just flat out corrections without you even having to say anything. And if she looks at you and says, "What do I do?" then you can tell her. But the reason she's getting corrected is because she's not paying attention to you. She assumed that this was the right thing and it wasn't the right thing. She just let the environment take over and go wrong, wrong, wrong. Whatever the situation is in the living room. It's like, how should you be behaving in the living room? I'm not gonna put you on place, but if I see you pacing too much, that's wrong, right? So if you're pacing too much, I'm going to knock on the door or do something that signifies that you should be relaxing. And if you don't go over to the place bed, then I'll correct, and you will wonder why, and then I'll tell you place. And you'll learn very soon that in the living room, she needs to learn that in the living room, if she takes too long to settle down, there's gonna be a consequence. Go settle down. We're not doing anything right now. You need to be able to read the room. I'm sitting here on my laptop. That means I'm going to be here for a few hours. So go relax. And I would prefer at you're 8 years old that I don't have to tell you to go lay down. So here's a correction. And if you're wondering why, go relax. Don't say down. Go relax. Get away from the commands. Use them if you need them. But you just want her to say, when I say go, that means like go figure out what it means. And you will figure out what it means, because you're going to run into all the things that it doesn't mean, and then you're going to lay down and you're going to realize, yeah, that was good. And then do your work. So every little event that you go through the day, whether it's the walk or hanging out in the living room, you kind of started without telling her what to do at all, in hopes that she goes and makes her own mistakes fully. If we're going on a walk and you say, let's go, follow me, let her at first just completely go past you or completely go out of the following position, which is somewhere behind you so that they can see where you're going. And let them go way out and then correct them. And then slowly over time, they will stop going as far out. They'll hang behind you. They'll hang behind you, especially if you get them as soon as they go out in front of you and you turn around, you just click and you just keep walking the other direction. She learns to follow without heel. She learns to settle in the living room without down or place. She learns to make good choices based off in the situation and she thinks what's worked in the past and what hasn't worked in the past. And now this is a dog who's less anxious, because she's more informed, she understands, she's already been there, done that on her own. It's not just because you said so. It's because this is what happens. I've already tried it.
Yeah.
It makes sense?
Yeah, because I'm just, with all three of them, they're always in a command.
I know.
So, specifically with her, like, I haven't let her make those choices because I know what she'll do. Like, if I had somebody come in the house before I started using place, and she wasn't on leash, like, she would charge after them. So I've reinforced place. So she'll settle on place, but still there's that whining, and I wasn't sure if, like, can I correct that?
You can. And you can shut it down. Don't get me wrong. Like, you could I've done it before, where you just take a dog like that and you're just like, don't whine, and you just keep correcting that until they submit on the bed, and then their association while they're in these commands are healthy. But I want you to know, you would still be calling me, because what happens there is as soon as they're out of the command, they can't exist in that calm state unless they're in a command. It's this whole fucking mess right now, dude. And I feel like we're finally starting to realize, like, oh, maybe there's more of a balance than we think. And what I'm finding out, just to let you know, I think it's that dogs aren't being allowed to make their own choices And it's not like, it's not a moral thing for me. I'm not like, you should be letting your dog make your own choices because it's morally better. It's just that it seems to work better. It seems to like you did a great job, because what happens is they respond, it's reactivity, okay? Somebody comes to the door, I'm reacting with big, large movements. I'm rushing the door and I'm barking and I'm lunging. You corrected all that, but she's still being reactive. And the reactivity is like something enters the environment and she's stuck reacting to it just on on a side. I can't even help it. I'm just reacting to it now. I just can't even get off it. So she's still reactive. And she's just expressing it much more mild, which is a whine. So a bite can turn into a bark, and a bark turns into a whine, generally. I've watched it degrade as I stop biting dogs. Their bite turns into a bark, and then the bark turns into a whine, and then from there, it goes down to confidence and learning how to get out of the situation. And it's all experience. So what I would have did exactly what you did. We got to stop that shit, that lunge and the bark and do in place. But then at one point or another in the process, you have to stop telling her to go to place. And then we do this in our board and train. Before the dogs, it's part of the proofing process. Once they know it, once they understand the consequences, then what we do is we have the trigger come to the door, like a person or whatever, and when the dog's not on place yet, they're not on place, so that they hopefully make the mistake. What we want the dog to know is that when you hear this sound, which signifies, or whatever it is, the doorbell, which signifies the event that somebody's here, I'm gonna just see what you do, and you're on a little bit of a clock. And the dog doesn't know this though. So I go knock, 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 and the dog might be like, it might even react. Who knows? Whatever it does, if it does a bad behavior like rushing the door, Stim just corrects, just starts going tap, tap, tap. One big firm one probably, but then small ones. And the dog's like, what? What's going on? And you're like, And what's going on? You let it be confused for a second. For a second, it's like, I don't know what to do, because you know it knows everything, right? And then you just say, place. And it gets on place and you stop the e-collar. Good. Settle down, answer the door, even if nobody's there, fake it. Let some time pass. All right, honey, get off the bed. Let more time pass, like nobody's here. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you see where I'm going with this. A second or two goes by, a few seconds go by, and then all of a sudden, the e-collar's starting to tap.
Yeah.
And you're going to see she can put herself on the place bed. This, now the association means go to the bed and be quiet, right? It's different than just doing, I'm going to put you on the bed and you're not going to be able to get off. But I want to get off. But this way, it's like, I want to be on the bed when this happens. Because one of the times, we have to make sure she hits this particular rep. Even with people actually coming in the door. The knock happens, and she completely gets there before the e-collar. That's why we always give a few seconds before the e-collar, like literally Mississippi's, so that the dog gets a chance to do something without the stim turning on. She beats the stim, and she gets on there, and she gets a good girl, and now she's learned all about it. And that keeps the whining at bay, because the understanding is fully there now. Another one that I let them do, if they're really bad like your dog, before I do that even, I might even trigger her to do the big bad thing, and just, as soon as she goes from calm to like, in lunges, it's just a big correction, and then I just send them away. I don't even put them on place. I just say, get out of this situation. Go into the kitchen. And you try to come back out. What are you doing? This isn't for you. Go. And I'm producing these noises in people to let her know that there's going to be situations where if I say go, it means you're not part of it. And that gets rid of whining. So you can see how like placing those things for some of these dogs, that whining's still there because their mind's still there. Even though their body's not there, it is better. And so listen, you're not the only one who discovered this recently. I think a lot of people are figuring it out, including myself. And we're all trying to figure out ways to solve it. How can you solve it? And it definitely seems like letting the dog go and touch the stove and go, oh, okay, it's hot, works better than saying, don't touch the stove, it's hot. And then I want to touch the stove. It's like, well, you don't even know why you want to touch the stove. And the kid touches the stove. Just touching the stove is the only way the kid stops fussing about it. They're like, oh, I watched it happen with my own child. It was great. I'm telling him not to touch the stove. And I'm like, you know what? It's not that hot right now. It's a little hot. I'm going to let him touch it. I didn't tell him to touch it, but I just kind of waited him out. And he got his hand close. And the look on his face it was like dumbfounded, like this thing you wanted to do. All of a sudden, it was like, and then I said, hot, and I shit you not, that was the first word that he learned was hot, because I have a belief. I do this with dogs that as soon as an aversive happens, your mind is open and ready to take in information immediately afterwards. It's very memorable now. So you're in danger a little bit, all of a sudden you're remembering everything around that, because, and he did. So that was the first word he ever said, and he used it accurately for things that were warm after that. And he learned it after he burned himself. Even though I was saying hot before, he didn't pick up on it, but he picked up on it after he burned himself. And dogs are the same way. So it's like, you'll pick up on it. You'll learn place better if you don't even know place, but you go up on a guess, I correct you, and then I put you on place. Now there's context to that, and you're more likely to do that again to avoid what happens if you're in the situation when I come up and tell you I don't want you there. And you see, now that it's memorable, it didn't take 400 reps. Now you're like, wow, you can teach a dog the concept of place in less than 5 reps. It's if you get it memorable, you can do it. I don't want to say anything, but I've had it happen in 1 rep. It's just the right experience. That's why I started to realize it was about experiences. It doesn't mean they're perfect at it, but they understand in the context how to use, when to get on the bed. It's like when there's something going on in the house and there's stimulation, get on the bed. And so start looking through the behavioral aspect rather than a trainer. You're trying to get in the dog's head, change the way they think. Why are you whining? Because you want to go do this. Well, what if you didn't want to go do that? Then you wouldn't whine. Separation anxiety. I got books over there that tells me it takes years to solve separation anxiety. I read them. I believe them. Do you know what separation anxiety, simply put, is this? The moment that it stops is when, so the separation anxiety is the dog does not want to be in the kennel. Whether it's because it misses you or it's scared or whatever, it doesn't want to be in the kennel. Separation anxiety is solved the minute the dog says, I want to be in the kennel. And I can do that very fast. And the dog stops having separation anxiety. There's techniques. It's all about the way the dog thinks. If the dog believes he wants to be in the kennel, then there is no separation anxiety. And I think that is the faster way to tackle it than trying to go around it so much. So the dog doesn't want to be in the kennel, drooling, The dog wants to be in a kennel, gone. And I literally can see it clean up like that in most cases. And this is how I do it. It's like, after the first day, it's like, here's the kennel, go in the kennel. And then I'll see you in a little while, and I leave the door open, and I walk out of the room, but I'm watching the dog, and they step out, ding. They get back in, it turns off. Come back out, ding. And if they're not coming out, I entice them out with food or something. What happens is the dog's in a new environment. So that this is my house now, so they don't know this house. So I form an association, a new one. They don't have an old one to break. So I just say, when you get out of the kennel, if I haven't invited you, this is what happens even when I'm not in the room. And the dog ends up deciding that that's not an option. I tried it, it doesn't work. So now I'm submitting. Without me submitting the dog, they submit to the situation and they don't have anxiety about it. Because in fact, it feels better to be in the kennel than outside of the kennel when I'm not offered. But I also let them know when I say break and come out, that doesn't happen. It's only when you come out without a human inviting you out. And they are smart enough to get that. And then separation anxiety. At my house, gone. Because they want to be in there. And so it's unbelievable. That's what it's all about. And it's not about like the down command necessarily. Those commands help us change the way a dog thinks. That's why we use double down and stuff to help a dog. Well, now you have to sit here and watch this happen so you're not afraid of it. But it's all about getting a dog to think differently. So she wants to go do all that stuff. So let's make it so she doesn't want to go do all that stuff. She'd rather be watching you until you say it's time to go do all that stuff. And then she doesn't whine anymore. She doesn't whine anymore. Not as easy, like I told you, it was going to be easy to understand, but not easy to do.
Yeah. For you, is it like the sound that her like anxiousness makes that you can tell, like, because it's that deeper rather than that like higher?
She was doing like, you mean that makes me think that it's that she wants to do something?
Yeah, or like, well, that it's chronic, I guess, versus.
Well, it might not be because it might not be now that I'm chronic in the sense that it happens every single time, right? Like it, okay. But now I'm taking and thinking, oh, she's not whining it all the time. Like you said that just now that she's not whining. So a lot of the phone calls I get like this, the dog is, I mean, I don't even know if you can imagine this, but that whine it's 24/7 unless they're sleeping. I mean, it's that bad. So I was assuming getting on here with you that the dog was that bad. Now that I know that she's not whining like that all the time, you have a lot easier of a job. Yeah. And it's going to be it's situational, right? It's situational, but that's her association to it. She's leaving, like, she's breaking my number one rule with energy right off the bat. So, and we didn't even get into that, but, and that's dog whispering stuff, but you can do this without that. But with me, it's like, well, now you're already breaking energy, so I'm correcting already. But if she doesn't understand that it's the energy and that it's the lack of being submissive that's causing me to correct you, then that's where you see a dog get confused when you hit them at heavy numbers. They get more. They need to understand that completely submitting is the way out. And you can teach a dog this. That's how we make our living. We put state of mind training. We hold a dog accountable for a submissive state of mind on the fucking e-collar. It's not being done. It's not being done. It's not being done. And so it's being done now by people like us, but even Cesar Milan couldn't figure out that when he was using e-collars that you could hold the dog accountable for a state of mind. He still hasn't figured that out. It's like, and I love that guy. He's one of my favorite guys, but he doesn't hold a dog accountable for state of mind on an e-collar. Nobody knows it's even fucking possible until the past few years where there's guys exploring it. And we're one of them. And so I don't really know everything about this. It's very new to me, but I know you can teach a dog. The association to the stem means submission. And the way that I do that is the first thing I do with a dog who's really bad and for rehab is I let them, whatever the problem is, dog reactivity or whatever it is, I let them do it. I say, okay, you're my dog now. Hi, nice to meet you. Bring out a dog, and the dog just goes fucking ape shit. And I do my whole dog whispering correction, and I put them on their side, and the e-collar is involved in the last part of it. As they start to struggle, they'll feel that little e-collar kick, and then I'll submit them. And it'll just be to the point where they lift their head up, they'll feel that little kick, and they'll put their head down without me having to touch them. Now that's their first idea of what the stim means. It means to relax. It's my teeth. It's me. Yeah. And now it hits lifting. So now when you see a dog who's been trained like that, has that association to the stim, it means their first association was me submitting them. Not me teaching them recall with food and all this shit. It was relax or things could get bad for you. That's dogs, dude. That's just dogs. It's like you try to attack my dog, so if you move again, things could, in their mind, I need them to believe you're in danger right now. But if you're I'm not looking to kill you though. Yeah. And so that's where the trust comes in. But don't move. And the e-collar they learn is part of me during that process. And that saves me. That saves me because later on when I need to deal with anxiety, when I'm given this correction, they know it's me and they know it's because you're not calm and submissive. And so I don't have to explain that. Yeah. You know? So
would you say that would be like any time, let's say, that she was triggered, potentially, that would be your follow through to end that trigger cycle?
Yes. With that state of mind. So that state of mind, so you want to think that state of mind is the best one that you can start with because it gives zero response. It's calm submission. The reason why it's used is because the dog in that submissive state, they don't respond. And that's the whole thing, is we don't want them to respond because their response is bad. So you start with calm submission and slowly the dog doesn't need you to do that anymore because they're not in an unhealthy state anymore because you've changed the way they associate the car. The car means energy-wise. My association to the leash is, right, ready to rock and roll. It's high up there in like a physiological way, right, getting amped up. I want to be able to create calm submission with one sound. If I go, shh, then I trained the dog to know that means to go to calm submission. Now I present the trigger, they leave calm submission. They get corrected for leaving calm submission. So they learn here, you're getting corrected. I don't care if it's an elephant. I don't care if you barked or whined or farted. I don't care. The thing is that you lifted your energy up and that you know that means to go back down here. So I can train your mind after a certain amount of reps and days that when you see that thing, it means this. And now you think it means that. Now you're starting to change the way you perceive it. Now that's rehab work. So we're doing rehab work. So we're saying, feel this way about it, that calm submission. And they go, I feel this way, correct? Bringing them back here. But it doesn't work unless your corrections means calm submission. It has to. And that's the part, listen, if you have to focus on anything, that's the part when it comes to rehab. That's the part that if you get good at that, all of a sudden you're in a category of a small amount of people, and you are in a highly demanded, because that is what everybody who's able to do rehab on the e-collar, the kind of work that I'm doing, whether they use the terminology or not, that's what they're doing. They're able to do that. You can hold a dog accountable on an e-collar for a state of mind. That's mind-blowing. You can literally give that to an owner. You can say, click this, and it'll not only correct them, it'll calm them down. And it's like, that's all owners want. They want to be able to click a button, and they stop what they're doing, and they calm down. And so, and that's what you need right now. You need to be able to click a button, and she's like, okay. And it takes work to get there, but if you can do it with her, and it's your dog, so it's super hard, it's even more hard for you. At 8, then you can pretty much you're ready for the big bad guys out there in the world, because it's bad when it's your own dog. It's hard. It's hard because you're part of the association, like you're part of it in that situation. And so if you get it, you're the real deal. And you're gonna be, yeah, it's hard, dude. But you can get it. You can get it. Believe me, we have to go through this shit with our personal dogs. It's like they make you go through a ridiculous. You're like, really? We got to do this again right now. But eventually, they always turn around. You know?
Yeah.
We got Izzy. We got our dog Izzy. It took us almost a year. So just let you know, to get her where I feel like she can be part of the family now. And now she's up here, part of the family, and she's doing great. But she was whiny and fidgety and anxious and like, I don't even know, just like the kind of stuff you're struggling with. It's just, you're like, what's wrong with you? You're not here. You're just vibrating. It took us a long time, but she's here now, and she's like, feels good and healthy, you know?
Yeah.
But it took those heavy corrections. But go ahead.
I think like her face is so gray because she's just stressed.
Yeah, I know. She got so much gray. Poor girl.
I know. It makes me sad.
But you know what? You also got to remember that, you know, I mean, where'd you get her from?
She was free on Facebook.
Well, there you go. You got to remember that some of it might have not have happened if it was a different temperament too. Like, don't think that maybe you fucked it all up or something. It's like, this was always going to happen, and it was always going to happen. And that if she was with the right person, like you, who was finally going to be like, I'm going to figure out how to help her with it. I think it's more of the case, just by looking at her, I've been doing this song, I'm like, oh, she was always going to be that, but probably way worse if she wasn't with you.
Because I got her when I was young. I shouldn't have got a dog before I was a trainer. So,
We all did.
yeah, right. Yep, she was the one.
Yep.
You know, didn't research breed or whatever. She's like German Shepherd, Pit, Rottie.
Oh, God. It's all in there. You see, it's like, it makes sense now.
Yeah.
But you can help her, and you've already did a way better job than somebody who didn't. You're a dog trainer now, you know. She got you into it. I'm assuming that she helped you get into it.
Yep.
You'll be able to identify it young now because you're familiar with it. But dogs like that, you know, she got you into dog training, so really she's gonna help you save a lot of dogs. You know,
Yeah.
that one dog, that one experience. So. But it's true though, the genetics, man. It was like she was gonna struggle anyway, you know.
Yeah.
So don't think that you like messed her up.
Yeah.
She obviously, people think these dogs are like, well, she must have been beat, and I'm like, I'm telling you right now, the dogs that I work with haven't been beat. They just haven't. They're just like, they were gonna be that genetically anyway, and they were paired with somebody who not only didn't know what they're doing, they did everything wrong. Not saying that you did that, but this is our clients, and I'm like, so we're seeing dogs who are genetically fucked and had a bad upbringing, and it's that's why we're getting paid so much, because it is such an amount of work.
Yeah, no,
It's ridiculous.
With the comp submission stuff, because I'm always intrigued by that. I did have a buddy who used to work with Caesar.
Sweet.
And I was hoping to learn from him how all of Caesar's techniques work, but he's a flake, and that hasn't
Oh,
happened.
dude, that sucks, because I think
Yeah.
Cesar Milan's methods work wonderfully. I mix them with the e-collar, and I think it works great.
Yeah, that's awesome. That stuff, blows my mind. But anyway, so I just have a couple of Caesar's books. I don't know if there's like a specific resource, if it's even out there that really gets into that.
Yes, actually, he does. He has the show, obviously, the Dog Whispering show, and that's hard to learn from. Although I learned from it a lot, but you have to do a lot of watching. And if you're like, now you're a professional, I did this before. I was a professional. I had more time. there are nice moments if you invest, skipping through what people like. If you skip through all the talking stuff, it's on you know where it is? It's on Disney right now, Disney Plus. Nat Geo is on Disney Plus, so you can get season 4 up to like season 9. All the early Caesar Milan stuff, all the early seasons, season 1, 2, 3, 4, this stuff, they showed everything. They showed everything. And so you see him hanging dogs up, and you see him side submitting dogs, and I watched him do it, and it's on tape, so you can go back and you see he does have a technique to it. He's not manhandling a dog necessarily. He's letting them tire themselves out, and then when it's time, he'll go in for it, but he always says that. He always like lets the dog kind of tire itself out as it's kind of being hung up, but he's not completely going wham and just going he's kind of taking it away and then letting it breathe, and then taking it away and letting it breathe. And I learned how to do that, and then I learned how he side submitted. But listen, when you're doing that stuff, it's dangerous. And you know that. I don't have to tell you that. The show tells you that. But he also has a DVD series that I have not purchased, but I'm going to get eventually. I've seen pieces of it. It's called It's Caesar Milan's like dog whispering masterclass. And it's a little bit older, but he covers a lot of the stuff as far as like how to read a dog or what a dog's body language means. And like he covers like what's appropriate between the relationship with a dog and a human, and like what he sees as disrespectful. You'll see this by watching the show a lot too. What he'll say, that's disrespectful. The way that dog just came up on that other dog hot and heavy, and he's like, they should come up slow, and then you rewind you rewind and you watch the dog do it, and then you go and work your dogs and put them in the social, and like that dog's doing that. And that's how I built my knowledge with the dog. I didn't actually study under Caesar physically. I just really listened to his methods, as well as, and they made sense to me, as well as studying like some science too. I studied science after that, and kind of try to figure out what Caesar was doing scientifically, and it was fun to do. It's like, oh, Caesar's is a conditioned punisher. You're like the dog doesn't know what that means at first. It's just like it doesn't know what no means. He makes a noise, and then he does like a foot tap, or he does like a leash pop, or he does a shoulder, and he does that a few times to the dog, and he's really good at it. And until the dog hears that sound and shows submission, and he doesn't correct. That's why that's rewarded. That looks rewarded, because if he sees them submit like that, this is the trick. He doesn't touch them. He does not physically touch them. And I learned that from him. If you say shush and your dog says, okay, sorry, don't touch him. Don't correct him. Because you're saying, in confrontation, if you submit, I like that. I'm more concerned about you submitting than like me physically punishing you just because you made the noise. I want to know that if I go, so if you see her eventually, your dog, you make the noise that you disapprove, and she gives you that nice look of like, oh, I'm done. Like I know that consequences coming. I'm done. I'm sorry. I'm submitting. Then you just don't touch her. That's her. Yeah.
So she actually kind of does that already. Like if my other two dogs are playing and she'll be in the middle of it, she knows I'm gonna interrupt it anyway because they get too intense. She just comes running head down and comes stands by me anyway.
I would make a noise. Oh, there's so much stuff, man, because it's so easy to like. Dogs can become so superstitious. It's like he moves, so he's gonna do something, and I know this. Yeah. I just had a dog the other day. I picked up the remote and he started to like do a command. I'm like, fuck. That's not what that means. They pick up on little things. So it's like a noise first. Enough means enough of what you guys are doing, and take it down a few notches. And then in a second, if you haven't listened, then I'm going to go in. And this, while you're teaching, it allows them to realize I'm not going to come in up and sneak up behind you and correct you. I'm going to say enough first, and then if you don't listen, then I'm going to. That's one method for a dog like that. But, you know, it is beneficial in the beginning of getting rid of bad behaviors to just correct them without making a noise, to sneak up on them. And I get that. But eventually you want them to know that it's not just random. I'm not just going to do it. I'm not looking to sneak up on you. I will say enough, and then that means this certain thing, and if you don't listen, you'll get corrected. So then the anxiety of like, he's walking by us, is he gonna do that thing? Like, this is what I know, man, I know. It's amazing how they pick up on something like, that's what it means forever. And it's like, no, that's not even right. It's not even accurate. And that's what they do. They just hang on to it, and you're like, no. And then trainers like us gotta go find those superstitions and like break them down and prove the dog wrong, and like, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. That's why the money's up there. That's why they have to come live with us, and like, you know, like this guy right here, he's going through it. Where is he, the kitty? He's almost ready to go home. He's doing really good now. And then we have Izzy learning how to be our helper. And we have Riggy, who knows what he's doing. But everybody here knows that by now. He didn't know a week ago. A week ago, that pity would have been making all the silly mistakes. And I let them make mistakes. That's the thing. I want them go let that. You see they're about to get off the bed. I wait. Yeah, that's what happens when they get off. And so we slowly go through. They learn on their own. Anyhow, that little piece of information that I gave you, I really do believe that conversation that we just had, which is being filmed, right? Was it filmed? I believe that's we're onto something by discovering this. It's going to change the way that we do rehab. I think people, and we mean like just balanced dog trainers, you know.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I like that target. I guess is the.
You let them learn the most natural way possible is by doing the behavior. It's hard to teach not to whine though, because it's hard for them to understand that it's the whine that you're going after. So that's the big trick. If you can get that and get good at that, and she's gonna continue to teach you whatever you need to learn, so that you're better with other dogs. That's the beauty of the dog that gets us into it, you know?
Yeah, that's for sure.
You're like, yeah, well, you try living with her. No, it sounds like she does pretty good for the most part.
No, she's not. It's just if I want to take her to a new environment and stuff like that.
Well, if it's a new environment thing, it's like, that's what I do, the thing I explained to you, and it works for me. And it's a bit of a process. It takes a few weeks, but you just teach them this is how we travel to new environments, and this is how it works, and you will have your free time, but this is when it happens. They always try to have their free time before it's time, and that's why they're getting excited about it. And so, if you struggle and you need more, let me know. I mean, I do have other things, like literally specific things to do, but there were a little bit more aversive, so I would see if it was necessary first. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This stuff won't work.
Like I said, she's pretty sensitive. Like, I mean, that 20 for her is the correction.
Right. No, I get it. So you have to. I wasn't thinking about being really firm with her. If this didn't work with the e-collar, I was actually thinking about doing less e-collar and more with your hands, which is takes a little bit more. Yeah, whole swallowing the chin and stuff like that. There's things that work that are old school that just clean this shit up sometimes. But if we can do it this way, I usually go this way first, you know. But yeah, there's some. You'd be surprised how many problems that go on like this, that a swat under the chin, well timed and the right intensity with the right experiences leading up to it, can solve it. And so. Yeah, also keep in mind, I know this is just a little tag, but there's something to be said about being physical with a dog. There's something beneficial about the physicality. When you're petting them, you're loving them with your hands, but you're also correcting with your hands, just like they do with their mouths. They lick each other, they give each other love, they kisses, but they can also bite. And there's something to be said about a dog when they know that you're capable of doing that. And they know you're capable of doing it with no tools. And there's just something different about it, you know? So that's also, I do that for my personal dogs. That's why I'm telling you, because this is your personal dog. I don't really go that direction with client dogs. I keep it at e-collar as much as possible, you know? Yeah. It's like there's no, I'm not going down that road for someone else's dog, you know? It just feels weird, like you're spanking somebody else's kid or something, you know? So we try to keep it e-collar, but for our personal dogs, you know, we do find a big difference in using our bodies more with them. And so, when all else fails. But hey, I think we got a lot accomplished here. This was very productive.
Yeah.
Let's make sure you got it. Let's make sure I haven't lost you here. Let's make sure we get everything that you need.
Well, I guess so. Moving forward, just keep in mind of going to set place, long line. Release her out the car, but kind of me wander. If she's too far ahead of me, tap for her to.
Yep, or behind or anything. You're just kind of walking, and then she's just not following. You're just giving the corrections when appropriate.
Okay. And then if I'm gonna go check something out, make her stay until I do it first, and then have her come.
Yeah.
Move on.
It sounds silly, but you're gonna see all the problems come out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just kind of think of a field that I'll go to test it out. And then should I keep? This is separate from any
Yeah, you can. What I usually do is I'll do this without the structured walk, the whole outing, unless you need it. If you need to use it and she's doing well, you can use it. But the whole outing is there for her to just make choices without you telling her what to do. But the consequences are there for the wrong choices, and the rewards and the praise and the approval, which you need to show when she does the right thing, is there. Until she just kind of starts after a few days. I mean, you know what you're doing because you're a trainer, so you might even find it faster than an owner would. She's gonna start following you without you asking her to, and like knowing, because your process is the same. You go somewhere, and then you stop, you check it out, and then you let your dog check it out. And she's satisfied, and then it's beep, back to following. You go somewhere, you stop, you check it out, then you let your dog. She'll learn to enjoy that process. I want her to enjoy it eventually. I want her to feel comfortable with it, satisfied with it. And also know what happens when you try to go and be independent before I've said break. I'm not going to tell you not to go be independent. Go for it. But I'm going to sneak away and correct you for being too far away from me.
Okay.
And I'm also going to, as the days go on, make that far away from me closer and closer and closer. So at first I might correct you for being 30 feet away. 5 days from now, I might be correcting you for being 5 feet away. You know, stay close, stay close, stay close. And eventually I turn that into a heel, like the following into a heel. But yeah. Start with the big movement. She's really far away to, as the days go on, you'll see, because she'll end up being closer naturally, and then you can say, well, she is closer, so why don't I just start making her realize that she needs to be at least this close now, this 10 feet now. So if she goes past that, I'm going to correct. And you'll slowly get her, so she's literally following you just like a foot behind you. Or maybe she's even using heel, because you've used it so much in the past, so she chooses to use heel. You can pet her there. Like, I like that you're in heel, even though I didn't tell you to do, because it's appropriate choice of behavior right now, you know? So that's what it's about. Get her judgment better. She needs to make the right choices on her own. It's hard to do, but you got it. And then once you get it with her, you're gonna feel so much confident though, because it's really hard to get it with your own dog at 8 years old. His own dog. I mean, that's difficult. So if you get it with her, you will probably be able to get it with any dog. So there you go. You get your challenge.
Once this is uploaded, I will send you.
Yes. You got the rest of your life to figure this out, right, with her. I mean, it's a great opportunity because she's not going anywhere. It's your dog. She gets to teach you. And hopefully she becomes balanced by the end of this, and she's happy with the process. She enjoys her life. I think it will happen.
Yeah, I hope so. But gotta do the work.
Gotta do the work. One day at a time, my friend.
Yeah. Well, I'll try that out, and I'll let you know.
Let me know, please, because I'm very curious. I love to get updates, even if they didn't work out. I just love to know, like, if we're still struggling or something, just so I know. This has worked for this many people, or it hasn't worked for this many people, or something, or you know, because it's been working for me. But again, we're just talking about it, right? We're not doing it together. So, but you seem like you remember the steps pretty good. It wasn't too complicated, but it does bring out all the problems. You'll see all the whining will come out, everything will come out, because you're just making them wait at just the time they don't want to wait, and you know, it's like all this stuff, and eventually it just gets better every day usually, and it's just a slow plug it away. Just be like, you know what, I'm gonna put a year into her, you know, and 6 months is just living with her this way, and it slowly gets better, and then you know it's your little journey with her. So hopefully we can keep dogs from getting this bad in the future by you know, educating people. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of dogs out there right now that are already like that.
Yeah. COVID doesn't help.
No, it does not. So
Cool. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
of course.
Mess around with stuff that you gave me, kind of figure out where to go from here. So.
Well, I think you're gonna have success with it. It's different than what you're doing right now, so that's good. You know, it's kind of like almost the opposite. So maybe it'll work. I think it will if you can get the timing right and understand. Like, and she'll teach you, right? Yeah, let me know. It works. It works. So I'm curious. She's 8, so it's always like, wow, let's see how well this actually does work. She's in good hands though, my friend. So if you want to just throw an update at Julie or something, you got her number, you can just throw